Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Why People Do What They Do, where we speak to talented and accomplished individuals from various fields. Today, we have Anne Tham with us today. She's the founder and group CEO of EdVenture. She owns two international schools, a private tutoring center, and multiple English language centers. You may recognize her two international schools. It's Dwi Emas International School and Dwi Emas International School. And welcome to the show. Thank you for being with us here today.
Yes, hi Jackie. Thank you so much for the introduction. And hello to all the viewers. I'm awfully glad to be here. Yes.
Thanks,
Mm,
Anne. This show is essentially about why people do what they do, just really drilling down to people's why. So, really
mm.
curious, you have an inspirational story. You started your business from your dining table and you've built it to the scale that it is now. Tell us your why, Anne. Have you always wanted to teach and be an educator?
Actually, you'll be surprised that I never ever wanted to teach.
Oh,
In fact, my friends in schools and uni, they were very surprised when I told them I'm a teacher. You know,
what was your
um,
first option?
Actually, I come from Penang, so
Me too.
we are there you go, right? And we are surrounded by a lot of beach hotels where you get to meet a lot of tourists and visitors from all over the world. So I've always wanted to work in the hotel industry, which I did. I was there for about almost 3 years, working in it, and I was trained as well inside the hotel. My degree is actually in language, so you just imagine from language I went into hotel industry. But I realized that when you have a family, the hotel industry, you just got to make a decision right there. But I never imagined, for me, what was the big put off was actually teaching in a regular public school because of all the things, and I felt was inherently not working, right? So, but I never imagined that, and you need the teaching qualification. So I never imagined that I could teach in a private college. And so when that was suggested to me by my husband, because I had my daughter then, and we said, okay, he said, why don't you consider the private colleges? I said, hmm, that sounded like something I could do, and I applied. So the first college I taught in was KDU
In Penang or in KL?
in KL. Back then,
Okay.
KDU in Penang hadn't opened yet. So that was my first foray into education. And you know what? I never looked back because I enjoyed it so much. And that's how it started, you know?
So how did you then what was the trigger point for you then to strike out on your own, because you eventually, after a few years teaching, you taught English, right, at this here at
Yes.
KDU. What then triggered you to make the decision to strike out on your own and then start your business from your dining table?
You see, after KDU, I went to another college. It was Taylor's College at that time. And I was horrified because by that time I was teaching already for almost 10 years in the colleges. And it was a bit of an issue because I saw there were many things, so many things that didn't make sense, like teaching the children, the teenagers, college going students, grammar. I'm like, why am I don't even know grammar rules, and we write well and we speak well. And then why am I teaching them this? And worse, I'm teaching them like simple present tense and articles and, all the very basic things. And, after 11 years of education, this is what I had to do. Worse was when I was teaching basic English, at least in Taylor's, if your English is just way too weak, you can't cope with pre university studies, right? So they have a certain level, but even then it's like you're talking about intermediate level, you know. But when I was in KD, I was teaching basic level as well, and basic means the teenagers are writing things like my name is so and so, I
Wow.
come from serious. So how in the world do you spend 11 years learning English and still can't write, and they can barely speak it, and I'm doing basics with them. I mean, I was teaching foreign students as well, like from Indonesia, Brazil, Czechoslovakia, but Malaysians primarily doing basic English.
And was this a combination of non-native English speakers, or it was a combination of non-native and native English speakers?
Okay, when I when I was in KDU, because KDU was different. I was in the intensive English curriculum, so I was teaching basic and, intermediate and maybe lower advanced. They can never get to advanced. It takes too long a time to get there. And then we taught both Malaysian students, a lot of them, and also a lot of international students. Now, when I was teaching in KDU, I was in the Canadian pre-university program. And therefore, that level, the kids need to have a certain level of English. When you talk about, I used to do placement tests because I was the head of English for that program. And I found that about 80% of students did not have native speaker level. Then you have 20% of Malaysians who have native speakers level, and that is not coming from the regular schools, not in any of the schools, unless they are going to international schools. Even those in private school, maybe the percentage is higher, 40% native speaker level, but you still have about 60% that is almost there, but they're about 1 or 2 years short of having native speakers level for 18-year-olds.
Wow.
They might be about at 15-year-old levels, like Subang folks. They all speak English, but it is not native speaker level.
Yeah. And to that level, that speaking and also the writing ability, that's up to that certain level.
That was like they would need examples, and they were writing, and I realized over the years what the issue was. Our Malaysian curriculum is actually focusing on English as a second language. If you really look at the level, a strong kid, a strong speaker at say Form 1, they can easily do the Form 5 work, right? So it is actually ESL, English as a second language. But the minute you hit college, you need L1, native speaker. So we spent 11 years teaching ESL, and that's exactly what we got. The outcome was ESL.
So then you decided to take things into your own hands. You mentioned before that you were looking for a good school or a good teacher for your daughter, and that's when you decided that there is a gap and I can't find something that's suitable for my daughter. I'm going to do it on my own. Tell us about that.
It was more like, so I said, oh my God, I cannot have my daughters, follow this route and end up like that.
And at that time, you also had Grace already?
Yes.
Okay, so yes. 2 daughters.
Yes, and they were in primary school at that time, Grace was just finishing her preschool. And Erica was already in primary school. And I could definitely see that they were not getting it from the schools. And they were in private school at that time, And I said, no, this is so serious, because in that particular private school, the math questions that were asked didn't make sense. They had to calculate the brother and sister, right? The brother at 11 years old was 1.998 centimeters, and the sister was 2.17. And I was like, that is as tall as a house, right? And so I said, no. So, it's not just language. It's like just the whole system of learning just didn't make sense, because that's it. Oh my God, now I know why our kids coming out in college are so lacking in so many things. And one big one is the ability to think. So I said, okay. I went checking around to see what language program there was that would take care of all this, and I couldn't find a single one for the outcome that we needed at college. Because when people teach, they tend to teach, the basics, but they do not know what is being laid for later on, right? And I said, no. So I was complaining to a friend of mine, and she said, Anne, why don't you start the classes? I'll send my son. I was like, oh, right. Yeah, let me look around and see what I can do.
That's the aha moment, is it?
Yeah.
So that's how it started. And how many students did you start with at your dining table?
Well, it was 12 in total, but not at the same time.
Okay.
So I had like one standard 1 kid sitting at my dining table, and then a 1 Form 1 kid, and then maybe another class standard 2, I had 3 students. So in total, in different classes, I had 12. Oh, I had a Form 4 class with 3 students, that kind of thing. So it was quite interesting.
So that was your
Yeah.
first taste of entrepreneurship, right? Um, how what was that one moment when you decided, okay, I this is my business. I have a business here. You spoke a lot about being an accidental entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
You have a business here. Do you ever think at any point in time that you would build it to the scale that it is now? Did you plan for it?
You know, when I started the classes, I think for the next 2 years, I didn't think of myself as running a business. So I had no idea I was an entrepreneur. You know,
Okay.
it was just, my objective was, okay, I'm gonna teach at home. So, I was sharing with some friends of mine, and I said, I didn't have any 5-year plan. I didn't even have a business plan. I just started it. And then I looked at it. It was actually about almost 4 years in that oh no, maybe about 2 years in, I realized I had people depending and on what I was doing. And that whether at that point, I wasn't even thinking of it as a business. I was thinking, should I teach my teachers everything? Because the horror stories, they learn from you and then they go start somewhere, something else
Yes.
somewhere. Yeah.
And how many
So I
teachers did you have 4 years into your business?
I had about even 4 or 5 at that time, but two
Okay.
years in, I had like maybe three. And so, do I teach them everything? So at that time, I'd given them a lot of the stuff, but it was like, do I teach them like all the way?
The
And
dilemma.
yeah, someone actually gave me a cassette, John C. Maxwell, and my answer was in there. And I just went all out and trained them. So 4 years down the road, I realized, I've got these teachers are depending on this. And then I realized I've got a business. I know nothing about business. So how do I keep it going to make sure that it makes sense? So it just so happened my sister in Singapore, she was the one going more for the trainings and so on. But she passed me this Rich Dad Poor Dad, and then there was no turning back from there. Yeah.
What was in the book that resonated with you so much?
Because I'd already been on a 4.5 year journey. This was my 5th year, right? So a lot of the things he wrote in there, I experienced it. Like it wasn't making sense. If you're an employee, and I was working just as hard as when I was working in the colleges, but I was able to control my outcome of my income or my life, and what I could do for my kids. It was things like this. And then the other thing was he was talking about passive income, and at that time we had no clue what to do about it. So I said, it makes sense. So I'm gonna go out there and buy something. I don't care what it is, but I'm gonna go buy something. So it went along those lines, but there were a lot of things that he said that I could recognize. And one of the things I look back and I said, it's true, because as I was working almost 10 years, my car kept shrinking in size. I started with an imported Japanese car, a small one, a hatchback, yeah, no doubt. And then I ended up, the third car my husband and I would have to buy was a Kanchio for the similar amount. I'm like, no, there's something seriously wrong. And that Japanese car, the same make, was selling at 60 over thousand ringgit. So when he was talking about like inflation and you can't keep up with it, and that was why I recognized it and then I said, okay, look, when I started this, the first thing I did was, okay, I'm gonna get a bigger car, because I felt that you just need a safer car. So I ended up buying a contractor model Pajero. The stick shift, the
Yes.
aircon, when
Yeah.
it's hot, it's hot, when it's cold, it's cold. you know so but then I felt, look, at least I got a better car, because I'm driving my daughters around. And it was really powerful, because I was 3 months into driving that car, and I was turning into my housing area. A car shot over a divider and crashed into my car with my two daughters sitting at the
Oh
back.
dear.
Yes. So, and I was glad I was in the Pajero, because they hit the wheel and bounced back. I had a bit of a whiplash, but my no, actually my daughters were not in the car, and I was safe. And I just imagine my daughters had been in the car, and if I had been driving, the car that was driving at that time was a local car. I don't think we could have survived it, because that was a Japanese car that hit me.
So was that
Yeah.
moment also very vital for you to then realize
Oh
that
yeah.
okay, I have the control now to buy the car that I want. Yes, there are people depending on me, but I have control, and now I have control over my
Yes.
time, my wealth, and
Mm.
basically the outcome that whatever I want to give my children the best.
Yes.
So
Yes.
why an
Yeah.
international school then? How did the idea come to you to then expand it to your first international school?
That was in about 2008, at that time.
Mm,
My sister, we managed to convince her to come back to Malaysia because she's an engineer, but she decided, an engineer trained in NUS in Singapore, but she decided to go into teaching there. But we said, would you want to come back here because Malaysian students really need you for math and the sciences? And she came back, she left everything. She had no friends here outside of the family. Yeah.
okay.
And she liked the lifestyle in Singapore, and she gave up everything to come back, including Singapore dollars,
Hmm.
and was earning Malaysian ringgit. And she had to pay some of her, obligations, yeah, like
Hmm.
rent, because she had an apartment, a flat there, and it was in Sing dollars. Not easy at all. So when she came back, my niece came along, and my niece was just about to finish her high school. She had only Sec 4 left, but she couldn't get into the international schools here to finish 1 year. They wanted her to do 2 years. My sister said, okay, you know what? Let me just homeschool her. And I said, okay, I will do the English. You take care of the math and the sciences. And that's what we did. It was when she went for her exams in British Council that we found out there's so many Malaysians who were doing it on their own, and they were paying like what, 800 ringgit for one subject a week
Wow.
just to sit for one of the papers. So we said, look, I think we have something here. I came back, I started talking to my students in the classes. I said, what if we did a school like this, where there was no uniform, not because of anything, but because we want comfort. And then where you're going to learn and learn it like A style, like the English classes where there's a lot more fun and you're learning skills. I had immediate calls from parents, and we knew that, okay, I think we've got something here.
How did you advertise your school at that time?
Oh, it was through my English classes, and
Okay,
my
and then
first
word of
batch was,
mouth.
yeah, my first batch, I had 90% of the students came from my English classes, and instead of just one subject, they wanted everything done the way we were teaching it. Yeah.
Walk us through the early days of your business expansion, and was there funding? Was it difficult to get funding? The operations. What are the key lessons that you learned that up until today, right? You carry it with you after all the expansion work has happened.
Okay, what happened was we looked at how we started the English classes, because I went around looking at land and everything, and I found the ideal land in Kota Kemuning. I said, that's my land. But for the next 5 years, we still could not get it. But anyway, what happened was, we said, how did we start the English classes with like zero financial resources, right? I said, I think we should go and do like a private tutoring center. Let's give that a shot. That's how we started. It wasn't an international school. And the first year we started, right at the very beginning, one of Melinda's students doing math and science wanted to join that school. And the
Melinda's your
father,
sister?
yeah,
Yeah.
Melinda, my sister,
Yeah.
she's my partner in crime for everything that we have created. So she's that student told the parents, and the father said no, because the school, this will close in 6 months.
And why is that?
Because she said it will close. Because like we didn't have track record as a school,
Okay.
right? And then he didn't think that we knew what we were doing. Yeah. So, but thank goodness, 2 years later, that student couldn't get in, but the siblings got in to our school. But it was like it's a private tutoring center, and it was within the first and second year we already knew we had to become a school. So we started looking around, and we were very fortunate to find two landlords who were so patient, and they said, okay, because I had by then 2.5 years I was looking at property and meeting owners and so on, and we just couldn't. Uh, they wanted 2 million deposit. If I had 2 million, I would have my own land and do something about it, right? We had zero, right? Zero resources of that sort. So and we found two landlords who were willing to build for very little deposit from us, and they were willing to even wait for us, because to apply for a license, it takes some time. So, along the way, when people talk about you, if you do the right thing, angels will come along. And yeah, I can tell you, my two landlords were it, and the third landlord, the one that we actually, our center is in USJ1. That landlord said, and I want to invest in your school. Yeah, so that was to build. So when we started that school in USJ, the private tutoring center, I started with 350,000
Okay.
ringgit of my own money. That was it. And that's all I have put in personally, or my
So
partners.
350,000. You started with 350,000 of your own money and your partner's money to build
Oh no,
your
my own money. That's
your
it.
own money. That's it.
Yeah, yeah. And then when we had to open the school, Dwi Emas, we managed to raise about 2.6 million. Yeah. And yes, we were with just that alone. That was all we raised. And so we have built to the three schools that we have today. And yeah, we literally bootstrapped, because we raised enough to just renovate the place.
At that
Yeah,
point in time,
twice.
did you at any point in time think like, okay, I'm going to build this to a certain scale. I need investors to come on board, because that seems to be the lay of the land right now, right?
Yeah,
For young people who want to start businesses, it's like, okay, I have this
yeah.
concept. I'm going for seed capital and things like
Yeah.
that.
Honestly, it's very difficult to get money when you have no track record. As in, like, you have to prove that you can sell, that there is a market. People who have money, they are not stupid, and they're very, very savvy with their money. If you think that with a business plan that you can go get funds, it's very, very tough. I would suggest that you figure a way to start selling with very limited resources, because if you can sell with very limited resources, in the eyes of an investor, they like it. They like it. And to them, it's not, oh, you're going to need my money to sell. And if you can't sell, then what's going to happen to my money, right? But when you can already start selling, and then you say, look, I have got this. And by then, usually, you may even have got more ideas as to what other markets you can tap in. And by then, you can tell a better story. And that's when seed money comes in. Seed money doesn't come in from when you don't have anything,
There you go.
So
Yeah.
this is something that you might want to think about, Yeah, just whatever you do, just figure a market and you start putting it out there. And you're more fortunate today, because there are more places that you can actually do things. And very often it can be flea markets even, Yeah. And just get it going. Online is the best right now. Yeah.
That's right.
Mm.
Key lessons that you learned and during those early days of setting up, and key lessons that you still from those early days that you still carry with you through to this day.
Okay, what I'll do is I'll share with you what I did back then, and then I'll tell you on hindsight now, not hindsight, but we realize there is a name to what we have done. Okay? Yeah. When I started doing the English classes, I was thinking about what is it other people are doing, and there's so many other established English classes around in Subang. But what I did was I looked at what was needed at the college, but instead of doing the gap, like after Form 5, then I give you a couple of months to get ready. It doesn't work, because it was what I was doing intensive English in the colleges. So I said, okay, let me build these skills from young. Okay, and from year one itself, that where the kids are already thinking and so on. So we did it in such a way where the parents saw immediate results. So that's what you want. You want immediate results, because I'm laying a foundation for after Form 5. And what parents care about at that time are all the exams like UPSR and PMR and SPM. So how in the world do you make sure what you're doing shows immediate results?
Yeah.
And the minute my kids started to be able to read and read really well, like orally, and they started speaking well, that was immediate for the parents. And then I was doing things that people generally don't put in English classes, which was the kids were doing creative writing. So at the age of standard 3, they were writing 1.5 pages, and the parents could see that. And they're not even skipping lines, yeah. They're literally writing on their own. By standard 4, they were writing 2 pages easily, 2 to 3 pages. At standard 5, they're writing a storybook of 10 to 20 pages. Now, which 11-year-old in Malaysia can write 10 to 20 pages. All my kids can write 10 to 20 pages, every one of them. So parents saw that, and the kids loved coming to school, and they would tell parents, and that was the other thing. I made sure that they really liked coming in and they were enjoying themselves. So they were going home and telling the parents that you can stop any other tuition but not English. That was very immediate. So you got to build a rapport with the kids. They must like you. They must know you care, and whatever I did with them, they found it so much fun that they just would not skip class. So parents are like, "Oi, this is something very different, and my kids want to learn, so there must be something there." And then that was what I did. How to find that comparison. It's English. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I'm taking the wheel and I'm deciding what else to add to it, right? So it's English, and then I'm not even creating content. I was using content that was available out there. I didn't want to waste time, right? It was more what I built upon it. Then the next thing was, I decided that, look, I'm going to be the best at what I'm doing here. So I'm training my kids to enjoy the learning. I'm going to be the best there. My kids are learning creative writing and they're doing presentation. I'm going to be the best right there. And it's all combined together. So those became, and when you talk about the best, it can scare you, because how can you be the best? What do you mean by being the best?
That's right. Yeah.
And so it became that I ended up, now on hindsight, I realized I just decided to be the best at home in USJ. It was like in USJ. I can handle that, right? Then it became like we were literally like known in the whole of Subang Jaya, right? Then after that, because we also had classes in Bukit Jalil, we were known there, and wherever we set up, we were known in those areas. So just be the best, and if it's like you're doing char kway teow in a coffee shop, just be the best in that coffee shop. Yeah, or just in Taipan, say for instance, yeah, you just work on being the best, and that's how we worked out, and that's how we found out that, oh, that's what you call a differentiator. So there's a name to what we're doing. It's called effectuation. EFFEC, yeah. Tuition is TUATION.
Okay.
Yes, effectuation. And because a lot of people wanting to set up a business, they have a goal, and then they have this plan of when they want to make money, and so on and so forth. So then but the thing is, then they find the resources to work towards that goal. But that is more managerial thinking, and it's more businessman thinking. But if you want to be an entrepreneur, then it's got to be the other way around. You have to look at the resources that you have. So I was like, okay, I knew how to teach, so yeah, I think I can do this. And I knew English, I think I can do this. Like, I think I know what's wrong with it, and I've been fixing it in college. And then I don't have money to do up a shop lot, and then it's going to kill me if I can't pay and the numbers are not big. But I do have a house. What I had was like 4,000 ringgit in cash. I think I can buy some books there and a cassette player.
Wow. Okay.
And then no money for marketing, but I do have legs, and my 2 girls have legs, and my maid came along. So 4 of us were traipsing around USJ, dropping flyers.
Wow.
That was how we got our initial students, from those flyers, 12. Yeah.
You talked about, you've always talked about how your schools, you want to prepare and equip kids with skills that they would need, right, 20 years down the road. And this is what you continue to do today. That's your differentiation factor that you speak about.
Yes.
How are parents responding to this, and why do you think that it's so important for kids to have these skills?
Yeah. Okay, actually I ended up, my target market, are the parents, but it wasn't the parents who get excited, because majority will not see this. Okay. The people who got most excited about what we are doing is actually the business people, the entrepreneurs, the industry leaders, and so on. They were the ones. If you notice that the attention that we got from the beginning was from the business community. It wasn't from the parents, not from educators. In fact, got a lot of pushback from parents and educators. So we had to stand firm on it.
Why do you think that was? Was it because they couldn't accept a new way of teaching and learning for their kids?
It wasn't, just that they couldn't see far enough. What they wanted was to get the kids into college, and they didn't think that anything more than that was necessary. And they felt that, oh, the kids can learn it in college, but they don't know. Like, I come from the college, I can tell you, I have to undo the kids. You know, by college is where they have to master the skills that are built. But I'm starting from scratch, and worse, I have a bigger hurdle I got to undo what they had already learned, which was completely off, you know. And the way they were acquiring language was just not the way people naturally acquire language. For instance, my friends used to complain in the math classes that it was, you know, people taking like algebra, geometry, they're actually getting A's in at math and so on. But my friends would tell me it's like teaching them is like dragging a cow up a tree. You know, because you twist a question and they can't do it, and they'll ask you, teacher, can you show me how? So it was from there that I knew that, you know, parents don't get it, but I had to give them what they want, which was the English classes, and the kids can do well in the exams. But then if I do extras, then I don't think they would mind. I'm not asking them to pay more, you know, so they're paying for what they would call it in irregular English classes. And then I would add in all these extra skills that they don't have to pay more for. So the same thing we did with the school was that, so I was coming from that space, and not only because I was working out in the industry before, right? And I was working directly with the owners, like the directors. You know, I was reporting to some of them. I was reporting to the GM, and so I knew what was going on there was very different when I came in to start teaching, right? So I was, when we looked at the whole thing, we started from the end. You know what? You start from the end. And now, when we did that, we now realize, so we didn't even look at, oh, what other schools are doing, and therefore we take the best. We were looking at what the kids are going to need when they are working, right? 20 years down after they are working, they need to still be relevant. And then we work backwards to college, and we work backwards all the way down to standard 1. So we didn't even look at any models that are out there, but we took what the industries wanted from the very beginning. Because after all, parents, that is where you want your kids to go. You want your kids to be the first to get the jobs. You want them to become managers because they've got the tools. You want them to become CEOs. You want them to be in key positions at the group level to work in MNCs. That's what you want, you know, or if they're running businesses, you want them to have those skills. But the schools were not doing it because and if you wait until after school, after they're done with school, you're starting from beginning. That is where they need to master. You know, but then it's already set by school what they are able to do. And that's why, like, you deal with a lot of top entrepreneurs and all that, and people, industry leaders, and you know, they will tell you the same thing. It's very, very difficult to find good managers. It is very difficult to get good people in senior position levels. The skills are not there. But I'm sharing with you, it has to change from school. All right. And in college is when they have to start mastering skills in order to hit out there. Now, I have this information to share with you. This came from a talk by a university from America that's very different. And I went to check and double check the information. This is done by Gallup polls in the US, right? They interviewed universities to see how well prepared their kids are for the working world, you know, and the score was 96%. Colleges and universities feel that they are doing very well at 96% preparedness for the kids, right? Undergraduates. And then they also use the same survey, the polls, with employers and CEOs. And what came back was 11%.
So there's clearly a mismatch there.
Yes, and this is something parents, you need to know. If there are parents out there, educators, please do something about this, you know, because this is a reality. And if we keep doing what we're doing, the kids are not able to go out there. And that's why sometimes you hear things, people say that degrees are losing its value, because when the kids graduate, their pay is about the same as that of a salesperson in a shop. If you look at the starting pay, it's the same. You know, and you still will get to similar positions even without a degree. People are seeing that. So they need more. They need more skills.
It seems, Anne, that when you started, you and your team looked very much internally at the problem, and you also looked at how best we can do this, as opposed to looking outside and looking at the competition. So that's very interesting. I'd also like to talk to you about risk appetite. When you decided to strike out on your own and start expanding a few years later to your international school, in hindsight, how much risk do you think you were taking on at that time? Were you even scared at any point? And where do you think you got that motivation from? Do you think your upbringing helped shape your appetite for risk, so to speak?
Okay, upbringing had a lot to do with this. Now, the other day, just 2 years back, no, was it last year that I thanked my mom, for the way she and my dad brought us up. But before I hit there, you know that we never looked at the risk at all. Okay, it was we felt the cause. Now that you look at it, it was what we wanted to do. The change that needs to happen. The kids, we need to help them. They're miserable at school. Why should they spend 11 years in school being miserable?
So
It's not making sense.
That was your main motivation.
Yes. And the other motivation was this. I was dealing a lot with kids in college, and they're coming from all over Malaysia, north, south, north of Peninsula, south of Peninsula, East Coast, West Coast, East Malaysia, West Malaysia, right? And all of them, I could see that confidence was a big issue, the self-esteem, self-worth. And these are kids who are coming from average, above average, and maybe, upper level income. And they all did not think that they were good at anything. So my heart, because I was working so much with them, that my heart went out to them. And I started my English classes. It's all the middle income, middle class people, right? And the kids are coming from middle class homes. So I said, wait a minute, there's something wrong here. These kids are not ordinary kids, And then later on, when I started working like this, I realized that we were actually taking on and challenging the bell curve. Because the bell curve states that 16% of people are high performers, and exams actually fit into that bell curve, right? So, and the kids I was working with, majority, all of them, in fact, even the good ones don't think they're good because they're always people better than them. So looking at this 68%, the largest bulk of young people who have to literally fight through this on their own, and they go through the entire life thinking they're average and they're normal. But it all because the way they were taught didn't suit them.
Right.
It was, if you get it right, and because I was able to experiment in my classes, I realized that this is how they wanted to learn. So if we do that for all subjects, we can literally shift them. And even my English classes, we were shifting them already. With 2 hours of English classes, we were shifting them. The way they were looking at life, the perception, the way they can deal with the big picture, the way they could pivot and adapt, and nothing was the same. So literally, just imagine being able to shift this 68%. So the people wanting to take care of the really excellent students, the straight A's, they get a lot of help there. The rich, they get a lot of resources there. And the ones who are having difficulty, the poor, CSR will go there. But nobody will put money into the middle class. And they are closest to becoming extraordinary. You do that, you have more people who are going to impact the world than focusing on these two ends, So that became, and so the risk didn't appear. We didn't see the risk at all. And then we were like, okay, this is how people are running the international schools. There's a lot of money being made there. And I'm like, for some schools, we felt that the skills they're teaching are too old, right? And they're rote learning, and at college, this will not stand. I'm struggling at college to reteach them the tools and the skills. So I said, okay, if we get it right, we should be able to make it right. So that was it didn't come from the space of skills. It came from, I think we should be able to make this, yeah.
So while you were that was your core motivation, wanting to change the education landscape. You were also essentially running a company with so many employees, with a team of people, and that must have been 25. You've been in this business for 25 years doing this, right? And when you look back on all the decisions that you made, were you making that decision, would you say, as as the foundation of being a teacher, so you know the landscape, you know what is needed in the space, or were you tapping on and the entrepreneur and the leader of the company and the
Okay.
businesswoman? Yeah.
I think it was both. And okay, maybe a better word was I came from the space of humanity. It wasn't
What
even
does that?
from an
Yeah.
I didn't look at business. I didn't look at it as teaching. I was looking at the kids and I was looking at the families. You know, parents were spending a lot of money and what were they getting? It wasn't the future, it was the past. And then when we dealt with the kids, we were not looking at what the pedagogy says. It was like, look, this is what kids need. They need support. They need help. They need to be the learning to be scaffolded. And if you look at the way children learn, it's not in silo. If you look at curriculum, the way it's been developed, it's all siloed. And that's why we don't want to start from the beginning, because the beginning it starts siloing from the beginning at kindergarten level.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, but kids don't learn, and they don't learn from the beginning and the easy stuff. If you've got nieces or you have your own children, yeah, I would suggest you look at how your kids used to learn, and there literally is no barrier. My daughter was using the word, she was using hideous at the age of 5. I nearly fell off my chair, and I was driving at the time, strapped in, you know. I was like, where did you learn that word? It was really correctly used. Oh, Beauty and the Beast comic book, you know, and it was because the older sister was reading that book. That comic was, you know, but she didn't think that she was younger and therefore it's not meant for her to read. You see, they don't think that way, you know. So and I know of friends whose children at the age of 2+ knew all the names of the dinosaurs. I mean, full names. But then when they go to kindergarten, they're learning cat and dog and tiger and, you know, the very, very fish, the very, very basic words. And I can bet you those kids know arowana, especially if the parents have it at home, you know. So and beyond that is more skills. They are copying their parents and so on and so forth. But it starts siloing there. And that's why I say you got to start from the end. Because, you know, this is one question I ask people. I said, look, if you talk to kindergarten, it's very hard for me to reach educationists. All right. And I can share with you what space, you know, I get that from as well. So educators and like people who really have been education, business, and even at the university level for a long time, they don't get me. They don't get where we are coming
Up
from.
until today, after
Till
25
today.
years.
Till today. Yes. Okay. So when we looked at the thing, and so if you talk to kindergarten teachers and those who run kindergartens and even those training, they say no, we are preparing a new. Let's see, all these skills that we are teaching the kids is all there, and yeah, we are crossing. There's some who go thematic learning and all that. It's all there. But then, so because to them it's not a problem, because these kids can get into very good primary schools. So you talk to primary teachers and no, this is not working. They will never believe you, because their kids can get to good, very, very good secondary schools and international schools. Now, same thing with secondary. You tell them that, look, this is not working. They won't believe you. They never do. Because their kids can get scholarships into good universities. They can get into top colleges in the UK or US and Australia. They get accepted there. But then when you talk to universities, no problem, my students can get internships, etc. But then when you talk to the employers, they say no. So my question out there is, where is the problem? If at every stage of education, all of us who are educators, we say there is no problem, then where is the problem? All right. Yeah, even for me, because for the expansion that we're going on is massive, the expansion, yeah. And so we are in talks with investors, right? So very often people want to introduce me to investors who invest specifically into schools. I can't get excitement from them. They don't get it. And worse off is that they're making millions and even billions from owning like lots and lots of international schools around the world. Then who are we to tell them that they're not doing it right? You know, but the ones who get excited, the investors who get excited, are those who are they're business investors into businesses and industries, and they know the struggles of getting the right people. And we had offers to be funded, but back then I didn't know what I was doing, so I didn't dare take on the funding. You know. So it was really funny.
But now you are, right?
Yeah, we found it was because I'm a teacher, so I do not have cables to pull, nor do I have like the right contacts. My contacts and cables are my kids, right? So it was one of my ex-students who introduced a mentor from his church. Yeah, right. Because this was a this guy, he does a lot of big deals, and so he was mentoring the youth in the church. And it was through my student that I got to know him, and he came in and decided, pity this bunch of teachers, whether they know what they're doing or not. I can see we didn't know what we were doing. He decided to help. Yeah,
Wow, but that's something that
yeah.
you're trying to shake up, right? And the education and industry gap that you're trying to connect and make sure that your students will then become good employees or entrepreneurs eventually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think what you got, you're hitting the nail right on the head. But I'm gonna give you something else to think about, because you see, you're actually, but what we did was we realized over the years, we went in, yeah, we want to change education, we want to change education. All my people joining me, they joined because I wish education was taught in this way. And then when we started hiring, it was like, those of you who want to change education. I wasn't looking for teachers. I wanted people who were changing education, who wanted to be a part of it. So my people came on board. But it was more heading forward. We realized, yeah, change. What are we doing with education? We're changing it. At that time, we had no idea what we were changing it to. Nobody knew what it was going to look like. And we realized that we were changing it for the future. We were pulling education into the future, into we didn't even know what it was going to look like as we were doing it, you know? And the more we went in this direction, we realized, wait a minute, the future is uncertain and is constantly changing. And what we were doing was giving the kids the tools to be able to adapt and pivot when they get out there, when it changes or gets disrupted. Currently, if you look at education systems around, they are training people and the children for certainty. You see, because all you need to do is to look at the places that you're learning in. Do they know how to pivot? Do they know how to adapt? Because education systems, they are the second slowest industry to change. Okay, and right now, it's like, oh, MCO is over, they go back to normal, right? In many schools, they just were completely unprepared to even help their kids online. My teachers pivoted along with me. They were so overwhelmed. Some of them ended up crying as well, but they went along. But that was the sort of people that I got, because they came in to change things. Yeah. But the point that I'm sharing here is that you want the future, it has to prepare the kids for uncertainty. And the other thing is, you can't prepare them for jobs anymore. Those jobs could disappear. Even as a doctor, if you want to be a GP, you're going to have to think twice, because today toilet bowls can actually diagnose, a disease more accurate, or what's wrong with the person, more accurately than a GP can. And today you have those your devices, and even knowing whether you got blood pressure or not. There's those devices that can diagnose 6 things at one go. You go to medical centers, you're going to have to use 6 different devices. I've seen that because we're collaborating with someone from this company from Silicon Valley, and they create the neurofeedback and biofeedback chips. Yeah. So you have to know what your kids need today. And if the schools are not doing it, you need to know where to get it from them. Yeah, as a parent, don't wait for the schools to get it for them.
So rapid change, technology is disrupting all
Everything.
spaces, not only education,
Yes.
but all different verticals of different industry. What you talked about, adaptability and the ability to pivot, right? What kind of other
Yeah.
skill sets, character traits that you think that are important for young people to really thrive, to hone and eventually thrive in their workplaces, in their lives?
Okay. The first one, I think, is the ability to see the big picture. Okay. Because the learning is so siloed that the kids do not have that ability. They can. I can tell you. This is students from regular schools, because when I gave them this essay topic, I never figured that I would have any major issues with it. The topic was a world with no animals. Just imagine what it's like, right? do you know that I have students saying that if there are no animals, then there's no milk, and therefore we will not be strong, we won't have strong bones. Our bones will be very brittle, it'll break. And I'm like, I don't there are a lot of vegetarians who don't take milk, and I read a book once before that says that animals in the animal kingdom, once they're weaned of milk, none of them ever take milk. And if you look at the strongest animals in the world, the biggest and the strongest, they are all herbivores. They don't drink milk. So and then later on, I found out from some people who are really big in nutrition. They told me that the best form of calcium comes from vegetables.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, because milk comes with a whole lot of other things that the body has difficulty processing. So yes, I'm not going to go into this because I could offend people in the milk industry. But it's just what I read. Yeah, this is what I know. And for parents who've been telling their kids milk is good, I'm not out there to do this. You just might have to get your own information and so on. But my point is that the kids were saying that without looking at that big picture, I've got more. And they said that if you become a vegetarian, when you eat vegetables only, there's no meat, you could end up becoming cannibals. I'm like, which universe are you from? And these are kids who are looking at things in silo. You can already see the way they're thinking. They're not connecting information. And some of them are strong science students, okay?
So the ability to connect the dots, the ability to see the bigger picture, adaptability, ability to pivot, those are important skill sets and character
Absolutely, yes. You need to know a lot of things. You can check it out in this book called A Whole New Mind by Daniel H. Pink. Yeah, very powerful book. If you want to know the future, he wrote that book. Most educationists do not know. Educators don't read that book. Business people read that book. But you need to know this in order to educate the kids. Yes. Because it's why the right brainers will rule the future. Currently, education systems around the world, in many places, is focusing on creating kids to be very left-brained. Yeah, but you need the right brain to be equally developed. Or if you have very, you need to encourage kids with the right brain. Right now, right brain kids feel like they're nothing in school. I am one of them. I was one of them.
I see.
Yeah. I felt very stupid back then. But then because the information I was getting in order to do our school did not come from the education side. I go a lot to the business conferences. Yeah, I ended up dealing with a lot of business people. In fact, investment groups as well. That one, I was asked to speak in an investment group, and I don't know investments. The things about, I didn't know the terms, so it was very interesting. Then it was technology conferences, and then EdTech game conferences was where I got a lot of information. And we started making those differences in the schools, not from the education conferences. Yeah, I'm gonna offend people as well. I know, I'm sorry, but I'm very blunt. The things I say could be controversial, but I think because of the COVID and the lockdown, I think you're beginning to see the truth of what I'm talking about. It's easier to see that truth. It was so difficult to convince people. Yeah.
Current and future projects that you're working on, and also quite rightly so, you spoke about what the MCO had shown a light on different aspects of the education space. What does the new normal look for you in terms of the education space? And talk us through as well your current projects you're working on and future projects in the pipeline.
Okay, first off, the new norm, right? The new norm, nobody knows what that norm is like.
It's a buzzword that everyone is using right now, but exactly what will the new normal be?
Yeah, so nobody knows. So right now it's all of us are in it together. So I request that all parents out there and teachers, please be patient if your school doesn't know what they're doing, the school that you're in doesn't know what they're doing, or it feels like the communication is not there, because nobody knows how to fix this, all right? There's no teacher training to teach or to train you, the teachers in your schools to actually be able to teach through the camera.
It's right? So unprecedented, right?
Yes. Somebody asked me, how do you do that? I said, you know what? If you really want us to be very good, we will not focus on teaching. We will have to focus on being a production house to figure out how to entertain your kids, and we may need to know how to draw cartoons, and we may need to know how to act, and we may
Yeah.
need to literally write scripts, like acting scripts, in order, or even sing songs and perform and all that. Otherwise, you can't. And teachers are not trained for that. Okay, so we need to be very, very patient. And the children as well, you please talk to them as well, that the teachers are also struggling with this. Either that, or they just have to go online and just learn everything from YouTube, the ones that entertain them, and forget about even coming to us as teachers. This is exactly
Yeah.
what it means.
So everyone's just trying their best, right? Everyone's trying to
Yes.
figure it out.
Yeah. And even for us, like my teachers, because they are very young, and they came in not from, my teachers don't come from the teacher training side, because we were very deliberate about that. Because you look at Asians, right? How many of you, this is no, this, I feel so bad saying things like this, but the point is, teachers, there are very, very good teachers out there. But in general, I'm looking for teachers who are able to apply the content, not trained to teach a content. So I'm coming from that space. All right. So if I want that, first and foremost, where do I go get them? Right? I have to go to the courses that train the kids, or the teenagers, or the young people, to have the skills to apply. So therefore, I have to look for engineers, I have to look for pharmacists, I've got to look for architects and lawyers and accountants and all that. Because you in the teacher training colleges will teach teachers to teach accounting. It's different, from application of accounting, right?
So you
So if
prefer
you
people
want,
with industry experience?
yes, and if you're wondering why the kids are not engaged in school, it's because of that. Because there's no relevance to the real world, because a lot of things are coming from the book. You want to teach, like say for instance, math. I can't have a secondary math upper sec teacher to teach even lower sec math, because they only know math up to form 5. I need engineers. So I've got a lot of engineers teaching math and physics, because they can cross subjects. They know what the math here is doing in the future, what it's going to be used for. So the teachers, when they come into the class, they have to show the children the end game. What is the end game? Do you know the end game? So this is where um like as teachers out there right now, the teacher training, okay, I'm going to offend the teacher training colleges as well, the systems are too old, way too old. All right, so it's right now nobody's fault. You just need someone who is daring enough to make a call on this and make the change. Because most of us are all victims of the circumstance, and what has been done before, and in an industry that just refuses to change,
It,
because they don't think it needs to.
is it difficult to find people with industry experience who want to be part of the education space right now?
Oh yes, it's not easy, because you got to fight with the industry. Because especially if you want the math and the sciences, the industries, first and foremost, we need more students in the universities to take the sciences and the math. It's dropping, the numbers are dropping, right? So when they come out, the industries that are very technically inclined and very science inclined, they need them. All right. And so you're fighting for that same limited pool of people. But lucky for us, there are many who did those subjects or courses because their parents felt they would be good at it, but they don't like it. You know how in Malaysia, in Asian, and it's not just a problem with Malaysia, it's around the world, you can really force the kids to do well. But you will know whether that works or not, whether they love the subject enough that they want to take it on as a career, or to take it on to study further. And when they don't, then the foundation you've laid is not right. Although they got A's.
So you
Yeah,
started
that's where we come from.
where you came from was because of your why, right?
Yeah.
Why you did what you did, and you continue to do what you're doing. Future projects in the pipeline for your company, for you as well, and for your company as a whole.
Okay, I think as Malaysians, yeah, you'll be proud to know that we are and going to be exporting a Malaysian Buatan Malaysia, yeah, Buatan Cikgu and Buatan Malaysia, product from here that's going to be expanded to other parts of the world. Okay, so it's the pedagogy that we've created, yeah. We are using the Cambridge IGCSE because that one, there's no question about it. Parents, trust it, and it is a good exam system, right?
Okay.
A very good one of the foremost in the world. So it was more the pedagogy that we wrap around it because IGCSE is an exam system. Okay, so it is up to you the pedagogy that you use to teach it. All right. So for us, the pedagogy that we've created around it is the one that's going to be exported. So yes, all right, and we're very excited. We're very excited just coming from that point of view. And the other thing I think parents, people may not know is we were featured in Cambridge University Student Union Yearbook 6 years in a row, and for this year and next year we're going to be in it as well. But the one I want to point out is the one in 2018. Cambridge was celebrating its 800th anniversary, and we were featured in Chapter 1. It's world-class education, and we were selected 1 out of 8 schools from around the world.
Wow.
I'm sharing with you as Malaysian to Malaysian that I'm so proud of that because there are only 2 Asian countries in there, and we were one. You know, so for that alone, we're like, yay! So moving forward, it's about okay. We have already started the first Finnish Asian kindergarten hybrid. Hybrid kindergarten.
Finnish Asian. So you've taken the education syllabus from Finland.
No, we co-created this curriculum with our Finnish partners. So
Amazing.
the lady who is our partner, she wrote she was one of the co-writers for the early childhood curriculum for Finland. She used to run her own kindergarten for many years, and she was very different from most back then, And the other partner owns an app called Tiny App. And so we are in partnership with them, and we co-own the IP together. They train our teachers, but we look at the pedagogy, the philosophies of Finland, and they will be the ones to tell us whether we're on the right track or not. But we are the ones who understand the Asian mindset. To bring a Finnish curriculum over directly, it won't sit well with the parents. After 2 years of pre-kindy, they'll put them into a regular kindergarten that focuses on exams and all that. So if you want to know how to bridge that was where we came in. So we've become partners, and we opened the first we got a Finnish Asian hybrid kindergarten going in our school. And right now we've got requests from around the world for this kindergarten. This was routed through Finland. Somebody from India was very interested in a Finnish kindergarten and linked them to get to us in Malaysia for this Finnish Asian hybrid with entrepreneurship in it as well.
And you've already kickstarted this program.
It's kickstarted. Yeah, because you have to give the parents what they want, right? What if I were to tell parents and say, look, at the end of 6 years old, your kids will be able to read like year 1 and they'll do creative writing already. Okay, for language, would that be okay for you? And then for math, is it okay if they can do multiple digits addition, subtraction? They can do multiple digit multiplication, division. They can do distance, area, volume, fractions, algebra, calculus. Would that be okay for you?
And the answer would always be yes.
Yes.
Of course.
Yes. So it's this fun learning. At the same time, at the end of it, the kids are going to be prepared for year 1, whichever year 1 you take them to. All right? Yeah. So the parents have to have that reassurance. But the problem is that right now, parents are thinking the only way I can get my kids to be able to have that is they must sit still and do the work. They don't imagine that you can really have fun. And so that's where it starts, the siloing of the mindset. And
if you're having too much fun, means you're not learning enough.
Correct. And so the siloing of the mindset and also the siloing of the skills. Even the kids' emotions has to be siloed. But no, you got, because the kids, their brain needs to work in such a way for the future, it's got to interconnect content, multiple subjects, multiple skills, combined with the multiple subjects. And And one of my business mentors from South Africa, when she heard of some of the things that we're doing, she says, "And this is interdimensional learning, and that's what your kids need.
Interdimensional
Interdimensional,
learning.
yeah." And you won't even find much because literally it's been coined by us. Because my mentor coined it. Actually, she coined it, and she said it's because when you have information, so in the brain, you have these little bits of information, but there are gaps in between. So when you put in the creative component and you tie in with the subjects, then you're filling up the gaps in between, and that is a very different level of learning.
Finish the
Yeah.
sentence for me, Anne. I would have
Mm.
succeeded when.
Oh, right. Okay. Maybe I can talk to you about my dream,
Sure.
because that was when I felt that I got where I wanted to go. When I started my first, the private tutoring center, which is like a school in a little kindergarten building in Court 5.
And are you still running that?
Yes, yes, it's
Until
still
today,
there
right? Okay.
till today. Yeah. So the minute we hit that, it was my dream come true. That I felt that I succeeded in what I wanted to do, which was to set up a school. Yeah, so right now, whatever you're telling me, whatever we're getting along the way is it's bonus upon bonus. So yeah, for me, it's about having it all and being able to have it all, but have family, very close family relationships, working in a space I like. I told my people, the day our school, the culture and I am not enjoying it, I'll be the first to quit. So it's critical that it's a space all of us want to be in, and that we are like we are a family and a tribe, and that kind of connection with each other. So we want it that way. So, and I'm working with friends. People said, you cannot, you're going to end up destroying relationships. I work with my family members. I work with people I like, or even people I don't know. After they join us, they become like we really have this very close knit community inside the school. So that, for me, with the minute we started that, it was already my dream come true, and I would consider that a major success on our part. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
25
So
years, 25 years doing this, 25 years later, you're still living that dream.
yes, yes. And we're collaborating more with Finland as well. And you'll be surprised. In Finland, I'm working directly with business leaders. I'm working with ed tech companies. I'm working with accelerators, Finnish embassies here in Singapore, and the teacher trainers and the universities. And here, I can't get anywhere. I can't get any headway in that sense here. So the people who really gave us a head start in Malaysia was actually the EY, Ernst and Young. Yeah, EY. They were the first to like really literally recognize what we were doing. Oh, and the ASEAN business thingy, the ASEAN Business Award was another one. So you see, it was business. We got recognized by the business
And
side.
you've been recognized. You've won many entrepreneurial accolades as well, including the EY Entrepreneur Award. Yeah.
That was the one. It was the business side that was really, really exciting for me, because then that means they recognize that we're doing something different and we're changing the landscape, or we are fulfilling something that they need. And it was always for innovation. It was always for innovation, not because we were the most successful or that we made the most money. And then the other one was Endeavor. That was such a big thing for us to get on. And we are going to be part of Endeavor forever. Like, yeah, this is such a community, because we're selected. They'll help us get to where we need to go to scale. The minute we are considered successful in their eyes, our job is to help the next group of people to scale. So we will forever be part of the ecosystem and that community. You have no idea how exciting that is for us, to be able to mentor and give back to other people. So that's one of the things that we are part of as well. And we are going to be exporting to, yeah, you'll be very happy to know, in the works is in Central Java, a school in Central Java, a
Nice.
school in Melbourne. We just signed an MOU,
Wow.
yeah, with a
Nice.
major investment group in Melbourne. And we're looking at the fourth one, I guess, outside the country. Yes, the third one outside the country. It could be Kenya or Canada.
Wow. Exciting stuff.
Yes.
Exciting projects in the pipeline. And as we wrap this conversation up, what would your advice be for young people? You are seen as a mentor for many people in the business space as well as in the education space. But what would your advice be for young people who want to venture and be a part of the education space?
Okay, first and foremost, you have to be absolutely brave.
Mm.
Because as you know, you are up against a lot of people who will tell you you're wrong, right? And you have to swim literally upstream, which was what we did for the past 25 years, and we still are swimming upstream because there's a lot that needs to change. But one thing that would help you feel a lot better is that at least today there's a lot more recognition as to the fact that it has to change. So a lot more support if you're going into the ed tech space. And a lot of, honestly, if you look at a lot of the ed tech products out there, they were not created by teachers. Because in Asia, a lot of teachers are still opposed to the computers. They think it's bad for the kids. Yeah,
Right. Okay.
you know,
Mm.
and so do parents. You know, they don't want their kids on the devices. But
But where do you stand on that, Anne? Where do you
you
stand on the
it's not
digital?
even about a stand. You have no choice.
Mm.
You know, because your kids, this is a global world. Your kids are up against the people in the, out there in the world. And when you start something online, you're up against the world. There's no such thing as this is for Malaysia,
Mm.
And in order to get there, the other countries, the kids are already on the devices from a young age in school for everything that they're doing. So for us not to even look at that is a problem. The one thing that parents want to know how to do is to make sure the kids are not addicted. And the fact that you got to train them to become to know how to have discipline where they're not going to be the ones to discipline themselves. We are going to have to be the one to help them know how to control the hours that they are on the computer, etc. But
Mm.
literally we have no choice. And the other one is parents. The most parents are against games, and again, you cannot, because there is a shortage of people creating games. And right now, because we ended up in the tech place, right? And we realized, my God, a lot of the companies out there like Unity and Razer, they know they're going to have a shortfall of people who are going to be working in their companies, right? Like to the tune of thousands of people who are able to do the computer work. But then it helps if the kids already know how to play games. And there are a lot of companies out there that want to gamify their products. They want to gamify whatever it is that they want to teach. If someone is teaching about health, they want people to understand about diabetes. And so they want people to gamify the information about diabetes.
Mm.
Yeah, but you cannot get someone who is taught through the regular school system to do this gamification. You can't.
Right.
Yes. So then when I went out there, that was what I found out. And therefore, my job right now, that's why I'm very open to speaking on platforms. And Jackie, what you're doing is amazing. It
Thank
allows
you.
us to reach another group of parents who may not know all these things. And that's all I'm out there to do. We're putting word out there as to what your kids need. And bear in mind, there was a space we started with, and that's a space we still are in. Yeah. And it's just that now we know more than what we did when we first started.
Thank you so much, and thank you for sharing your why with us, and for working so hard to wanting to, do something about a landscape that, like you said, have been stagnant for a while now. So thank you for working hard to change that landscape for the future
Thank you.
generations of Malaysians.
Mm.
Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning into another episode of Why People Do What They Do. Thank you, Anne, for being on the show. I hope you guys enjoyed listening into to this conversation as much as I have had for the past hour talking to Anne. Thank you so much. If you like our content, please visit www.WPDWTD.com. We are on Facebook, streaming live right now, all our episodes. We are also on YouTube and Spotify, and very excited. Again, as a recap, you've got in the pipeline schools opening up in Melbourne, Central Java, and possibly Kenya or Canada. Where can our audience find out more about Dwi Emas in your private tutoring center?
Okay, actually, you can just key in Dwi Emas International School. You will get to us. Dwi
Okay.
Emas International School is the other one. If you want to get more information on just even how to handle the children and things like this, because my job right now is about helping parents and children and educators, I think you can find me on Facebook, Teacher Anne Tham. Yeah, that's my name out there. That's the space I'm coming from. And I want to say thank you very much, though, for giving me this platform to speak. And honestly, I'm not doing this alone. If you know the literally the group of people I have behind me, mentors who have stepped in to help out from around the world. I've got a fantastic board of advisors from around the world, and mentor people who have joined me from other countries who come here to work at this, and all my teachers. They could have been anybody and anything. And they chose, like, they have architects and medical doctors and pharmacists and engineers and lawyers and accountants who chose to teach. So you have to know that is what I have on my, together with me in my entire team. They're amazing, amazing people with the same purpose. Yeah. Okay, so thank you very much for that.
And thank you so much. Such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.